Hi, friends. Hello, the world. Welcome back to this episode of Complaint Free Life with you, your host, as usual, Stella Marva. Live or recording this from Kiev in the darkness. And I realized actually that there was a time when I used to live in Sweden, and we all used to talk about how Sweden gets dark very early in the day in winter. Oh my God, this is one of those weird countries that, foreigners like me didn't know existed until we lived there. And then I realized, wait a minute, Kiev also has similar tendencies, and it's dark already around 3. Anyway, this is my observation. Okay. So today I want to be doing questions and answers around one particular topic, which is goals, because I think this is a time when, everyone's talking about it and everyone's thinking about what has been achieved or not, or not want to hear about it because we haven't achieved our goals and we're just like, what's the point? It's just all talk and really no result in the end. And that's why I'm just tired of talking about goals. Then this podcast is for you. And I hope that you will give me a chance to show you or try to convince you that not only it's a great idea to do it, but also great idea to do it even if you didn't achieve any, even if everything went down to hell. So I will be answering all the questions that I collected over the year that I have been hearing from different people of how and why they can or cannot achieve goals, and what are the challenges that come up in the way, right? And as part of my coaching work, I feel like essentially my job is to help people achieve their goals, whatever that is, even though they may not really consciously think of it as a goal. But in the end of the day, it is a goal if you want to, love your job, or restore your passion, or quit your job, or find passion in something else, whatever it is, that in the end of the day, it is a goal. Even if we don't want to call it that way, it's fine. You can call it whichever you want. And that's not the purpose, right? The purpose is how we use goals, basically, and how we use goals to achieve or to grow ourselves. So the reasons that I love goals myself, and I have always been a great fan of goal settings and achieving and not achieving, and being disappointed or being happy achieving it. And I think there are many reasons why goals are amazing, but the few ones that I want to talk about here and repeat it once more that I have been talking about before is that goals help us grow and motivate ourselves to be the next version of ourselves that we have been somehow wanting or not really clear what that is, but yet goals help us get there. And in the process of it, goals help us learn so much about ourselves, about what we can and cannot do, and what we need to be learning in order to be doing that well. So, in other words, it helps us um, uh, develop more skills of how to achieve that goal, right? And also, it helps us focus. I find in this distracting world of wanting to do everything, or getting our attention to everything else, we can just focus and this is my goal and I just want to do this, right? So for me, I love being focused on certain things, and sometimes I want to do that to a point of obsession, and I don't really mind that type of obsession, and therefore I like having goals for that. So, and the fourth point, maybe, to the goal setting and why it might be important is that goals can help not only us, but also help others in a way that by us doing and achieving those goals, we may directly or indirectly also influence other people's lives, probably in a very positive way. so that me achieving my goal can help others achieve their goals as well, or motivate others to set their goals as well. In other words, we start showing people that this is possible. It can be done. It can be done this way. This is my way, but there are other ways to do it. But it is possible to achieve goals. And lastly, I think goals are, in the end of the day, a form, a phrase that came out of deep desires, came out of fantasies, came out of freedom to think what would be possible and then turning them into goals and then working on them. So in other words, for me, goals are also a manifestation of us listening to ourselves, honoring that desire, and then making something out of it, and then bringing into the world and creating it. Right? So these would be the reasons why I think, goal setting is important, whether you achieve it or not. Now, obviously, people will talk to you about many ways you can achieve goals, and you can Google probably tons of different plans of achieving it. And I will not be telling you here what plan to follow, because I think I have talked it in previous years in my blog post about it, and absolutely you can go and have a look if you wanted to. But what I'm coming to realize more and more is that everyone has to experiment for themselves. So there is no one way to achieve it. There are thousands of ways to achieve it. And even within you, you may find several different ways to achieve the same goal. So that's why I suggest, once you formulate or once you even think or desire your goal, you just go about testing and experimenting different ways of achieving it. Now, you may also go back to listen to or watch my video about how to learn a new language, where I talked about how that process is the same for learning or achieving a goal. And I will not be repeating that, but I may, in the answering of several questions, I may go into some of them. But it's important that in the goal setting, you expect definitely that it will not happen overnight. It will not happen probably easily or in the way that you think it might be easy. Or you may also expect it to be difficult. For some other people, it's not difficult. It's just a matter of working on it. So, but I would definitely say that in achieving every goal, there probably is a challenge that we need to expect it. And most of the challenges are probably coming from ourselves. Anyway, so I will be answering these questions, and then I hope it will be clear for you from these questions what I mean here. So oftentimes I get the question of how to set a goal. And again, as I said, there are so many ways to do that, but what's important, I think, is that you formulate it in a way that you know when you've achieved it. So in other words, if you are learning a language, then you really need to set a goal where you know how you measure that you've learned it. What does that learning mean for you? Is this a B1 level, or in the European certification format, right? Or is this the level where you can speak fluently? Or is this the level where you can write well, and even what well means? So that's why whenever you're setting a goal, I think it's important for you to realize or think about, how do you know if you've achieved it? So that's the only requirement I would say you could have, so that you don't continue thinking that you haven't achieved it and keep being demotivated, but rather you come to a point where you say, I have achieved it, here is the reason, and you move on. Because oftentimes I think we make the mistake of never ending something, right? Like some people tell me that, oh, I've learned, I don't know, a foreign language in school and then university, but I have never really achieved it, or I have never really achieved the level where I'm satisfied or content or can say that I speak it. So that's why it's important that you do yourself a favor and actually tell yourself that this is the evidence when I say I will have achieved it. And then close that chapter and continue to the next chapter. Another one is, what kind of goal is best for me? And whenever people ask me this question, obviously they want me to tell them what to do. And obviously my job is not tell them what to do. So whenever your brain is coming up with this question of what kind of goal I can set, because I don't really know what kind of goal, and you are very vague about it, then be honest with yourself and ask yourself, why are you choosing to think that? Because I think we all have our desires at any circumstances of our lives, whether we are older or younger or middle of the ages or whatever the age spectrum or whatever the culture or wherever we come from, we all have our desires, we all have our goals. If you're asking the question, I don't know what goal to set or what kind of goal, you're probably not listening to yourself. And the great news is that that question actually helps you then ask yourself and listen to yourself on what you really want, right? How you really want to spend your time, or how you really want to spend your life, how you really want to spend this year, or whatever the case may be. So I don't know, I think we're now learning more of is that our brain strategy to distract ourselves from actually setting a goal and working on it. In other words, it could be an excuse. So you ask yourself if that's really what you want to be using as an excuse not to set a goal, right? And it could also be an indicator that you have set a goal in the past and you haven't achieved it and you got yourself disappointed and therefore you don't want to be doing it. Then it's time to process that disappointment. So in the end, it's important that you ask yourself why you're choosing to think that you don't know what goal to set or what kind of goal you need to be setting. And you are the only one who can answer this question. No one else, right? So what if I don't achieve my goal, right? This is a classic question that I have heard so many times, and I'm sure you have probably heard also so many times, not only from other people, but from ourselves. And whenever we're asking that question of what if I don't achieve my goal, we're really saying, I'm afraid of setting a goal and not achieving it, right? So that's what we're saying. And as I said, I think we should set a goal even if we don't achieve it. At least we have tried it. Because in the end, what's waiting for us is a disappointment. And it's a feeling that goes away within seconds or minutes. And because of that fear, not doing anything else and just putting our lives on hold or living our lives without setting any goals or with that fear, I don't think it's worth it. I don't think those minutes of disappointment is worth not setting a goal. Do you know what I mean? Because even if we haven't achieved the goal, we've learned something. Even if we haven't achieved the goal, we have told ourselves, we have showed ourselves that we honor ourselves enough to pursue those desires. So that's why I suggest that even if you are disappointed in the past, set another one or similar one or a new one anyway. And expect disappointment again, because that way it's easier. And then I tell my brain that I'm prepared to be disappointed in order to find out what happens when I work towards my goal. Right? So for me, disappointment is never don't do it. And I think I did a video about it as well, about disappointment and how to handle it. So you can search for it on my Facebook page or any other social media that you're following me from. And disappointment is not there to tell us not to do it. Disappointment is there to tell us, okay, have you learned your lesson? Therefore, I am prepared to, for instance, for myself, right? I'm prepared to face any disappointment at any given time in order for me to learn Italian, in order for me to learn Spanish. These have been my lately goals, so that I come closer to the point of communicating with Spanish and Italian speakers directly. I mean, that's for me a goal. And excuse me, no amount of disappointment can stop me from achieving it. The same way with my coaching, right? So I may be disappointed of not achieving my goal. I may be disappointed of not achieving my financial goal or not being able to sustain myself in the future, and whatever my brain will tell me why I shouldn't be even setting this goal. But I am prepared to be disappointed as many times as necessary to come closer to my goal, because achieving that goal means that I get to help someone else achieve their goal. And that is worth so many disappointments. So that's why ask yourself, yes, there might be disappointment, there might be fear waiting for us if we don't meet it. But that's not the end of the journey. And B, we can always learn and continue moving forward. We can always process through our disappointment, our fears, and then continue moving forward. Because on the other side of it is achievement of our goal and what that entails. Us changing to the different person, possibly us even helping with our examples to someone else. While here, being disappointed or frustrated or fearful in advance without setting a goal, we just be handling all of these negative emotions. So we may as well handle them after having tried to achieve our goals, right? Okay. The other classic one is, what if I won't have motivation after I started? You know, like in all of our goal settings, we get very excited in the beginning, and then the 6 months through, and then we are a bit like, maybe I shouldn't have started it, or maybe I shouldn't have done it, or whatever it is that our brains are telling us, which is the reason why we may need to quit. Now, this is also something that we're learning more and more as coaches, I think, is that we cannot have motivation all of the time. It's just simply not possible. It would be like expecting our brains to be happy every morning. And we know that that's not true and possible either, unless we're under drugs. And even then, I don't know if any drugs can do that. But let's say in the natural human nature, we cannot be expected to be happy every morning. So is with motivation. We cannot be motivated and walking around motivated every morning or every time we want to do what we want to do on our goals. So don't expect it. Now, what can we do if motivation is not there? We can actually work towards our goals even if there is no motivation. Experiment it. Because we have this belief that if we don't have motivation, we won't be doing it. It's true. It's just that because we believe that, we were doing it. Meaning, because we believe that if we don't have motivation, we can't do it. We were believing in that, therefore we were confirming it. Now, try a new belief that is, I can do things and work on my goals even if there's no motivation. And believe me, you can. I've tried it. I know it's not fun, but I've tried it and it works. Yesterday, in fact, I wanted to do Italian and I didn't have any motivation to do it, but I sat down and did it anyway. I didn't force myself. I didn't tell myself, you have to do it, but I just said, no, this is what I said I would do, so I'm doing it. And then in the end, it worked. And I retold on a video a story in Italian. So you can do that too. And the other part is always that how can I create more motivation, right? For me, the best way to create motivation is what will happen once I achieve the goal? How does that image look like? And whenever I can picture that, then I can make all of this happen. Even if in times when I don't really want to. For instance, one of my clients recently was telling me that she had been postponing studying psychology because she wanted to be a psychologist for children. And then she was telling me because she had many other things, including she didn't have motivations at times. And I was telling her, imagine if you already had that degree and you were already working with children. How many children's lives would you have possibly affected in the way that helps them grow in hopefully healthy ways? So how many people and how many children would you have affected already by now if you had your degree like last year? And how many are probably waiting for a psychologist who will work with children, which I understand is very lacking in my country of origin. So that's why once you have that image, and then she was telling me, oh my God, there could be so many children I could be working with now had I have my degree. Absolutely. So why are we waiting? So that's why that could help you motivate yourself. And the last part that I get a lot is that I never finish what I start, right? And I think this is a dangerous belief that we hold on to sometimes. And I fear that's also what I did with my Spanish for some time, is that I kept thinking with Spanish, I never finished what I started. With everything else I finished, but with Spanish I don't. And this is what I was believing and making it true and happen. And that's why I've been learning Spanish for a long time, which sounds like forever. So that's why. Be careful to be making statements or diagnoses about yourself and making it come true. And even if you believe that you are that type of person and you have already a proof that this is happening, then start rewiring your brain by saying or asking yourself, how could you be the person who finishes it? What could you be doing today so that you become the person who finishes what she or he started? And then your brain starts to prove that to be true as well. It just needs time and practice. So that's why I hope that I have been able to not only convince you that setting goals are important, but also how you can get to be getting to achieving your goals. And if you have any difficulties achieving your goals, absolutely, you let me know, and I will be honored and happy to coach you on any of the topics of achieving goals. In the meantime, I wish you an amazing weekend, and I will speak to you next Friday. Bye, you all.